Chapter 181 Finale. Gu Lai has made up his mind to die. He is no match for an 8th level space-based psychic. But he would rather die than give in. Arthur is no longer as gentle as before, but is filled with evil spirit. Code A. Don't look at me like that. You can't kill me. Haha. What about us? Zhong Haoshuan is numb from the pain. He is a 7th level lightning-based psychic. If he can't kill Arthur, he will go to accompany Nan Gu. Xi Yuhua wiped the tears from her face and stood with Zhong Haoshuan. Yes. Add me. And me. Count me in. More and more psychics responded to Gu Lai's words, looking at Arthur with hatred. But Arthur was not moved at all. He held a box in his pocket and looked at them approvingly. You know how powerful Li Chen was when he was at the 8th level. But you still dare to fight me now? Gu Lai slowly pushed Chen Baishao away, trying to distance himself from them to avoid accidental injury. When you die, you won't be able to say these words. Li Yin looked at the motionless Li Chen and said sadly, Brother, sister-in-law is gone. Don't you want to avenge her? His words still didn't make Li Chen raise his head. Revenge? Why should he take revenge? He just wanted his Nan Gu to come back to life. Li Chen even had the idea of committing suicide with his arms around Nan Gu. After all, Nan Gu was dead. What else in this world was worth him staying for? Li Yin wanted to scold Li Chen to wake him up. But seeing Li Chen's appearance, no one would have the heart to do so. So he could only walk to Li Chen, squat down and say to him firmly, only after revenge can my sister-in-law leave with peace of mind. Li Chen looked up at Li Yin, his eyes full of despair. Why should she leave? I can't let her go. But you can't save her. There's no way to bring her back to life. Li Yin finally tore all the bloody things apart for Li Chen to see. Li Chen was stunned in the same place, only holding Nanji's hand, still shaking unconsciously. Li Yin also felt very annoyed. How could he say these words? Arthur also added fuel to the fire. Yes. Li Chen. Wake up. She won't come back to life. Wait until I kill these people. You and I will leave here. Li Chen still maintained that posture, motionless. Li Yin was frightened, put his hand in front of him and waved, Brother? Arthur saw that Li Yin didn't say anything, thinking that he was too sad. So he moved his wrist. Forget it. I'll deal with these people first. Gu Lai rushed up first, followed by Zhong Haoshuan and Xi Yuhua, and the army of superpowers covered them. But after really confronting Arthur, they felt the horror of the 8th level space system. Not to mention that Arthur was almost at his peak, and these people were no match for Arthur. Countless superpowers fell. Chen Baishao fell. Gu Lai also fell. Yi Xiao had died long ago. Li Yin was strangled by space to save Xi Yuhua, and his body was gone. And Zhong Haoshuan, although he was the one who persisted to the end, did not see any chance of winning. Arthur seemed to be holding an oracle in front of him. They were all mortals, at his mercy. What about Li Chen? Is he really empty-headed? No. He is thinking about something. He is already a space system of nearly the 9th level, and can change the world. Can he save Nan Gu? People who fought against Arthur kept dying in front of him, and Li Chen forced his brain to work quickly. Think about it again. There must be a way, and they can definitely be saved. When Zhong Haoshuan's life dissipated, he still looked in the direction of Nan Gu, but he said to Li Chen, We believe in you. Li Chen. Kill him. Before his consciousness dissipated, Zhong Haoshuan smiled with some relief. This relationship can finally be relieved. Nan Gu, don't feel lonely. There are so many of us to accompany you on the road to the underworld. At the end of the picture, he saw Li Chen holding Nan Gu, and it seemed to be glowing. But Zhong Haoshuan was completely dead and could no longer think. Arthur killed everyone, and he slowly walked towards Li Chen. He was also seriously injured, and his steps were very slow. But when he realized what Li Chen was going to do, his eyes suddenly widened, and he looked at him in disbelief. Li Chen, you can't do this. No one knows what will happen when the time goes back to the 9th level. And if Li Chen really turned back time, what's the point of everything he did? He will die. But before Arthur finished shouting, a light flashed before his eyes, and time seemed to stand still. For Li Chen, in the time of grief, his bottleneck was finally broken, breaking through the 9th level of the space system, which was a very painful process. Every bone, flesh and blood of him seemed to be reshaped, and his body didn't look like his own anymore. This was also the first time he used the 9th order time reversal. He was not sure what the consequences would be, But as long as he could bring Nangu back to life, he was willing to pay any price. In a sea of blood and light, Li Chen kissed Nanji's forehead and said to her firmly, "Gur, I will definitely save you." In his mind, scenes kept fading. From Arthur killing people, to Arthur confronting Gu Lai, to Li Chen looking at himself, holding Nangu sadly, and losing the whole world. The scene continued until Arthur sneaked up on Nangu, who had no power to resist, and she slowly fell down. Li Chen was originally like swimming in the deep sea, although every cell in his body was clamoring to be torn apart. With a splash, his body broke through all restrictions from the deep sea of tens of thousands of miles and rushed straight into the sky. He also suddenly opened his eyes. The scene in front of him was blurry, but he still recognized that he was strangling Cui Lanlan at this moment. 2 seconds is very short. Li Chen is now racing against time. Cui Lanlan felt his mental power suddenly become the 9th level. So in less than 2 seconds, she was killed in deep fear. He also felt Nanji's surprise, because Li Chen actually advanced in the battle. And Li Chen, in the last moment of 2 seconds, teleported in front of Nangu and hugged her away. At the moment he pushed away, there was a fluctuation of mental power around Nangu, and he knew it was Arthur. Sure enough, when Arthur failed to sneak attack Nangu, he was also surprised. Why did Li Chen save Nangu? Observing Li Chen again, he didn't expect that he was already a 9th level space-based psychic. Arthur was very scared, because it was impossible for him to defeat Li Chen at the 8th level. His only wish now was to escape from here quickly. But before he could teleport, Li Chen had already fixed the entire space. Because he had used time and space reversal, the energy in his body was rapidly lost. But he still held on to his last breath and killed Arthur. Arthur didn't even have time to say a word when he died. His last consciousness was mixed with fear and doubt. Why did Li Chen fight with him so straightforwardly? He couldn't hurt Nangu. Didn't he want to know his reasons? Li Chen knew his reasons very well. And he couldn't let Arthur live. Because once he lost control of him, Arthur's 8th level ability would be enough to destroy the entire North Sea. The surrounding space slowly quieted down. He couldn't see things clearly, but his hearing was very sharp. There were 2 heartbeats, which were changing from rapid to soothing, and finally overlapped together. That was the heart-to-heart between him and Nangu. Nangu leaned against Li Chen, and just as Li Chen held her and pushed her away, she felt a space blade suddenly appear where she was standing, and it was facing her neck. She turned her head to look at Li Chen, and patted her chest, saying with lingering fear, "Fortunately you acted quickly. Otherwise, I would have been killed by Arthur. I didn't expect this man to be a space system. And he has been hiding here. So scary." Nangu now admires Li Chen more and more. Her man is actually a 9th level master. She has no idea what Li Chen experienced before time went back. Now she is full of excitement about killing Cui Lanlan and Arthur. She almost jumped out of Li Chen's arms. She also gave Li Chen a thumbs up. "You are really awesome, Before she could finish, Li Chen hugged her tightly and blocked her noisy mouth. Kissing was not unfamiliar to Nangu. In the past, Li Chen's kisses were either hot, gentle, or tempting. But this time was different. Nangu actually felt destroyed in his kiss. He was too strong. This was no longer a simple kiss, but a collision of power. Nangu felt that her face was about to be broken by Li Chen's kiss. Especially in that kiss. With huge, lost and regained joy, and overwhelming affection, Nangu could not help but be infected by him, looking up to Barrett, and also imitated him, and responded to him vigorously. When Gu Lai and the others arrived, they saw the scene of Li Chen and Nangu kissing, and many people turned their heads away embarrassedly. As for the bodies of Cui Lanlan and Arthur, they had long been lost. Li Chen said to Nangu in his mind, "Do you feel my presence?" Nangu responded, "You almost swallowed me. How can I not feel it? But what happened to you?" Li Chen's breathing became rapid, and his hands tightly grasped Nanji's waist. "Because I had a very scary nightmare." "Are there zombies in the dream?" Nangu asked curiously. "No. There is no you in the dream." Nangu thought about it. And obviously she had no memory of death. Her brain circuit was not on the same line as Li Chen's. Then, there are indeed no zombies. How can it be a nightmare? Li Chen kissed Nangu for a long time. So long that everyone thought they would kiss until the end of time. And Li Chen let Nangu go. He once again stared at Nanji's face, inch by inch, eroding her with his eyes. Although the picture was not clear, "Nangu, I love you." Nan Ge chuckled and said embarrassedly, "There are so many people here." Li Chen said seriously and firmly, "Also, thank you." "Thank me?" Nan Ge blinked her eyes. What should she thank her for? Li Chen was gentle and affectionate. Because of love. His heart was lowered to the dust. "Thank you for waking up from the dream. You are still here." A few years later, Li Chen's son asked him, "Dad, why do you wear glasses?" Li Chen was concentrating on making cakes for Nan Ge. He was a tall man with a strong back and a charming demeanor. On his originally resolute and handsome face, there was a pair of frameless glasses. He didn't look back, as if he remembered something, smiled slightly, and began to squeeze the cream attentively. "Because my mother is so beautiful. I look at her every day, so I am nearsighted." And the following is a side story. Chapter 182 Extra 1. Nan Ge is pregnant. The bandits of the end of the world were all killed. Cui Lanlan and the man who occupied her body were also eliminated. Arthur's body was gone, and the people he brought from Country M were all controlled. After all, they killed the biggest leader of Country M, and they needed to be careful about the aftermath. Of course, Li Chen and Nan Ge didn't need to intervene in these. Gu Lai and Li Yin took the initiative to deal with them. So far, the sunken North Sea has been completely cleared, and humans have completely conquered the North Sea. Although post-disaster reconstruction is a big project, everyone believes that as long as they are alive, there will be a day when it will be completed. The happiest person is Nan Ge. She actually defeated such a powerful enemy. When Cui Lanlan died, she had already advanced to the 8th level of spiritual power. Because of the overdraft of her body, her strong mental power has not yet recovered. When she was advancing, she would feel sleepy from time to time. This time she had so many things she wanted to ask, but her upper and lower eyelids were fighting, and her eyes were watery. Li Chen and Gu Lai said a few words, and seeing that Nan Xiaoge couldn't hold on any longer, he said to her, "If you want to sleep, sleep for a while." Nan Ge looked at Li Chen. For some reason, she always felt that something was wrong with Li Chen. Yes, it was his eyes. Li Chen's eyes used to be very deep, like the ocean, with no end in sight. But now, his pupils seemed to be blocked by something, with a little gray mist. Nan Ge asked Li Chen with all her might, "What's wrong with your eyes?" Li Chen's body stiffened for a moment. The cost of performing spatial retracing is huge. Now that Nan Ge is so close to him, he can't see clearly. He has no doubt that if he performs time retracing again, his eyes will be blinded. But he didn't want to make Nan Ge worry, so he smiled at her and rubbed her head. "Maybe you are too tired. Just rest for a while." Nan Ge immediately refused to sleep obediently, and pulled Li Chen to the car, and said to Gu Lai as they walked, "We are going to rest, and the rest is up to you." The two of them were the main force in the battle, and Gu Lai had already advised them to rest. Hearing this, he waved to them, "Sister-in-law, you go." Li Chen let Nan Ge's little hand hold him tightly, and when he got back to the car, he hugged Nan Ge again. What to do? The memory of her death was so strong that he didn't want to be separated from her at all. Nan Ge leaned in his arms, and finally couldn't resist the release of mental power, and fell asleep. But before going to bed, she smiled and thought, "Why is the man getting more and more attached to her?" Nan Ge woke up again. 3 days later, her 8th level spiritual power was fully integrated. Now, looking at the whole world, the only one who could compete with her was Li Chen. During these 3 days, Li Chen did a lot of things, comforting the people in the base, the deployment of post-disaster reconstruction, and the explanation from the United States. Gu Lai also knew that Arthur was the one who framed Li Chen. He really hated Arthur and regretted that he was not involved in the killing of Arthur. So the matter of dealing with the United States was completely handed over to Gu Lai. He was also a very skillful person. Otherwise, he would not have become the leader of the Shangjing base. Arthur died in China, but he announced to the public that Arthur died in a battle with a very powerful zombie. And even though Arthur is the first leader, there are still many people under him who are ready to make a move. Gu Lai only used a little trick, and they didn't care about trouble with China and killed each other. After all, Arthur is dead, and the position of the first leader is vacant. And attacking China's North Sea? What a joke. There is a 9th level space-based superpower in it. Even if they are all sent there, it is not enough for Li Chen to fill his teeth. Just when the chaos broke out in him, Li Chen asked Yi Xiao to give him the most comprehensive physical examination. Yi Xiao also saw that Li Chen's eyes were in trouble, But Li Chen was unwilling to disclose all the details of the battle. Yi Xiao could only fulfill the responsibility of a doctor. Li Chen's eyes did need surgery, but he still needed to recover his overdrawn body. After the examination, Li Chen asked Yi Xiao while putting on his clothes, "What is the chance of recovery after the operation?" Yi Xiao dared not guarantee this, and could only say, "There is a 50% chance that the eyes will become like myopia. Wearing glasses can only help you see a little more clearly, and it will not cure the disease." He felt very uncomfortable. After all, Li Chen's eyes were permanently damaged in order to protect them. "I'm sorry. I can't cure this disease now." Li Chen never blamed anyone, and he was even still grateful that he could use a pair of eyes to save Nanji's life. He felt it was worth it. So he stood up and patted Yi Xiao on the shoulder. "If 1 year doesn't work, then 5 years. If 5 years don't work, then 10 years. I believe there is always a way to cure it. Don't give up." Yi Xiao nodded heavily. "Please give me a pair of glasses first. I can't see anything clearly now." Yi Xiao quickly gave Li Chen a pair of temporary glasses. After wearing them, he could see things close to him more or less clearly. Li Chen smiled with satisfaction, and told Yi Xiao not to tell anyone about his true condition. Then he turned around and devoted himself to work. So when Nangu woke up 3 days later, she saw Li Chen wearing glasses, sitting by her bed. Nangu slept so soundly that she was full of energy after waking up. However, she did not rush to get up. Instead, she arched her back in bed, hugged the quilt, and came over with a messy head of hair. She stared at Li Chen for a while and asked, "Why are you wearing glasses?" Li Chen smiled and said gently, "Maybe it's because I handle too many official duties, and I'm a little nearsighted." Nangu saw that Li Chen didn't look like he was lying to her, so she nodded secretly. "So that's how it is." She showed a trace of envy in her eyes. "It seems that wearing glasses is pretty good. I want to wear them too." As she said that, she was about to take off Li Chen's glasses, but he dodged her. Nangu twisted unhappily in his arms. "Why don't you give them to me?" Li Chen was twisted by her and felt hot all over. "These glasses don't look good. I'll ask Yi Xiao to match you with a red frame. That kind of suits you." Nan Xioge loves beauty very much, and thinks what Li Chen said makes sense. So the matter was diverted. The truth that Li Chen didn't say was that his glasses were close to 1,000 degrees. And Nangu would definitely find something wrong if she put them on. As soon as he hugged Nangu, Li Chen was a little distracted. He stood up from the chair and sat on the bed, letting her back against his front, and his hot breath sprinkled on Nanji's ears. "Gur." They were already an old married couple. As soon as Li Chen spoke, Nangu knew what he was going to do, and twisted her body twice, and found that there seemed to be no reason to refuse. Later, things happened naturally. Because of the improvement of their abilities, the two people's physical strength was also better. After a long time of tossing and turning, they gradually calmed down. Li Chen took off his glasses at the beginning. Although even if he didn't look at Nangu, his movements were very precise. That is why Nangu thought that there was no big problem with Li Chen's eyes for a long time. Leaning in Li Chen's arms, Nangu pinched her fingers and gently pinched Li Chen's muscles to play. His muscles were too hard, and Nangu couldn't pinch them, and she could hold back her strength, just like a kitten, which was far less than the strength when Li Chen needed her just now. Who knew that not long after the demon, Li Chen grabbed her wrist. Nangu looked up and clearly saw the fire in the man's eyes. Li Chen looked at her threateningly. "Do you want to do it again?" She immediately laughed dryly twice, and she would fall apart if she did it again. So Nangu quickly took her hand off and said to Li Chen pitifully, "I'm so hungry." Li Chen stared at Nangu and sighed softly. Besides eating and sleeping every day, will she think about anything else? He bit Nanji's cheek twice as a punishment, and put his wrist to her mouth. "Here." Nangu licked it happily, bit it open, drank 2 sips, and put it down. Li Chen was worried that she had a bad appetite, and immediately asked anxiously, "What's wrong?" Nangu suddenly sighed. "I just want to eat some human food. Braised pork ribs, lion's head, etc." She actually wanted to eat human food? Li Chen was shocked, and then excitedly said, "These food bases should be able to make it." Wait a moment. The meal was quickly prepared. Although due to resource shortages, there was only enough for Nangu. Nangu hadn't eaten human food for a year and a half, and now she found the food so sweet that her saliva was about to flow. After eating it, her long-lost taste buds opened, and she was so excited that she almost cried. Wow! How can it be so delicious? Li Chen was always by her side, wiping her mouth and persuading her, eat slowly. No one will snatch yours from you. Nangu looked up happily, letting Li Chen do what he wanted, and compared in her mind which was more delicious, food or blood. It seems that blood is more attractive. Of course, Nangu has not told Li Chen about this result yet. Li Chen was a little disappointed when he saw Nangu eating happily. What should he do? His little zombie didn't seem to be so attached to him anymore. Since Nangu woke up that day, her appetite has gradually increased. Since she can eat human food, mutated sea beasts are no problem. She even thanked Yi Xiao for this. If it weren't for the medicine he developed, she would have missed a lot of delicious food. But 2 months later, Nangu couldn't laugh anymore, because when Yi Xiao gave her a physical examination, he found that she had a baby in her belly. Nangu was completely confused. What did you say? Yi Xiao smiled excitedly. You are pregnant. It seems that your body has completed its evolution. Congratulations. Chapter 183 Extra 2. He loves us. Nangu was not mentally prepared at all. And the baby came. She didn't think it was a good thing. When doing the physical examination, Li Chen didn't accompany Nangu. After all, she had to come for a checkup every 2 months. Now Yi Xiao directly used the internal phone to tell Li Chen about this matter. The man left behind a very important memory, and used the ability of teleportation in the base, and rushed over. Sure enough, within a minute, the door was knocked. Nangu was still in a confused state, sitting there, not knowing what to do. Li Chen ran over, hugged Nangu, bit him twice, and said excitedly, Great, Nangu, you are pregnant with our child. His eye surgery was completed a month ago. The operation was very successful. Now his eye degree has become 400 degrees. After wearing glasses, he can see clearly. Moreover, the man was originally a very tough type. Wearing frameless glasses, he actually has a gentle and bookish air. After a month of watching, Nangu also adapted. At this moment, she pushed Li Chen away and said worriedly, I am a zombie. Will I give birth to a little zombie? Li Chen was stunned for a moment. And Yi Xiao, who was standing next to him, burst out laughing. Li Chen was also very amused and patiently explained to Nangu, I have said that you are not a zombie. You are an evolved person. And we are the superpowers. And we have the same goal. The baby you give birth to will definitely be a healthy human being. Nangu blinked her eyes, not knowing how much she heard. Li Chen had no choice but to turn down all work in the next few days to accompany Nangu. Li Yan's wife is also pregnant. In the past, Li Chen could pass on the base's affairs to him. Now that both brothers have no time, Zhong Haoshuan can only force him to do it. Although the Thunder Brothers said that if it weren't for Nanji's face, he really didn't want to take over this mess at all. Nangu is famous for being carefree. It's already the limit to worry about one thing for 3 days. Sure enough, on the 4th day, she had already let it go and accepted everything, which made Li Chen laugh again. Nangu even discussed with Li Chen whether their baby would be the same as other human babies. And her worldview is different from that of ordinary people. She also said to Li Chen, maybe our baby has 3 heads and 6 arms. I'm very excited just thinking about it. Li Chen. He also didn't understand what was so exciting about this. Nangu is the main force of the Beihai base, and she likes to fight zombies the most. However, after she became pregnant, Li Chen did not allow her to do more dangerous actions. She was bored, so she returned to the hospital in the Beihai base to help Yi Xiao. The psychic ability brought her a lot of changes, and high-level psychics have very strong thinking ability. She has only been here for a few days, but she has found all the unfamiliar techniques, and even cooperated with Yi Xiao to complete a lot of research, which made Yi Xiao say that he must speed up the research process of the evolutionary potion, and become a versatile villain like Nangu as soon as possible. The evolutionary potion mentioned by Yi Xiao is different from the one used by Nanji's biological father. It is extracted from Nanji's blood and is considered a protective liquid for the former potion. In the world, there is only one successful case like Nangu. So many things can only be handled by Yi Xiao himself. The antidote for zombies was developed when the North Sea was sunk. With this medicine, the death rate of humans in the battle against zombies was greatly reduced. And it also set off a huge wave at that time. So many leaders and well-known scholars from various countries have visited the North Sea base in the past 2 months. The North Sea base has also established solid diplomatic relations with many countries because of Arthur's death. because of the restless M country. It also has to avoid its edge. The development of the medicine for evolving people is a big project. After Yi Xiao and Li Chen talked about this, Li Chen invited many visiting scholars to stay. The power of brainstorming is huge. And Yi Xiao's experiment has also taken shape. Originally, Yi Xiao was worried that if he left them in the North Sea, they would feel unwilling. After all, they were away from home. Who knew that when he talked about this with a scientist from country H, the scientist looked at him with wide eyes. Dr. Yi, what are you talking about? How could we not be willing? Don't you know that the whole world is fighting for those few places in your laboratory? The scientist became more and more excited, and did not notice Yi Xiao's surprised face. Now you are recognized as the greatest scientist in the world. And your achievements are unmatched. We can learn a lot from you. And for us, we are all doing experiments anyway. It's the same everywhere. Yi Xiao breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "This makes me feel relieved." The scientist finally said a little embarrassedly, "And we also have selfish motives. After all, there is a 9th level peak superpower in Beihai, and an 8th level perfect evolutionary person. When I think about being able to contact them, I almost cry." Yi Xiao watched the scientist's eyes gradually turn red, and his lips were trembling with excitement. Finally, he believed his words and waved his hand to him. "Don't be excited. There will definitely be a chance." So in this atmosphere of enthusiasm, various experiments were carried out in an orderly manner. The most interesting thing is that when Nangu came to help, all the scientists looked at her without blinking. Outsiders could not imagine that everyone here is a treasure of the world. Other organizations can't get it even if they try their best. In front of Nangu, they are simply the symbol of high-level brainless fans. Today, Nanji's popularity is high all over the world. When Nangu came back from the expedition to sink Beihai, she was really shocked when she woke up and saw the comments on the forum. After learning the whole story of the incident, she was even more moved that the man thought so much about her. Obviously, more people treat her rationally. People from other places cannot come to Beihai. Which is better? What Nangu finds most incredible is the worship of Beihai base. Wherever Nangu goes, there are fans all the way. The pomp is comparable to that of a superstar before the end of the world. In order to collect information about Nangu, the people of Beihai also set up a civil organization named Nangu Cult. To be honest, when Nangu first heard this name, he thought it was some kind of evil cult. The organization soon learned about Nanji's pregnancy. The whole Beihai was jubilant, even more lively than when she and Li Chen got married. Today, Nangu was doing an experiment. Several famous scientists were helping her. Nangu focused on the test tubes and analyzed the daily life of the sampling system. You know, she used to be a clinical medicine, which had nothing to do with drug research. Thanks to her outstanding mental strength, her understanding of drug research is now at the world's leading level. Li Chen finished his business today and came to pick up Nangu for dinner. Nangu was still in the laboratory, so he was waiting outside. Nangu made the last step of recording, asked the people around her to help her pack up, and then walked out with a big belly. Of course, she knew about Li Chen's arrival. When she saw Nangu, she went up to him and gave him a hug with a bright smile. Li Chen pinched her fingers with some heartache. "Don't you feel tired?" "No. This is much easier than killing zombies before." Nangu took off her white coat, and Li Chen took it for her. Nangu asked, "Have you finished the strategic missile plan you discussed with country R before?" "Yes. The specific details have been finalized, and the only thing left is the final contract." Li Chen never hid the base from Nangu, except for one thing. After eating, Nangu and Li Chen took a walk outside. Many people in the base stopped and saluted them when they saw them. Today, the North Sea base has been fully militarized. The mutant marine creatures in the North Sea have also been cleared out of a certain range. They have opened up a new residential area. It won't be long before ordinary people can move out. When he ran into Nan Jiqing, Li Chen took the initiative to say to him, "Dad." Although Nan Jiqing is Nanji's father and Li Chen's father-in-law, he never abuses his power in the base. Now he is the supervisor of the new residential area, and his daily life is no less busy than Li Chen. A few months ago, after escaping from Cui Lanlin's hands, Nan Jiqing made up his mind to be a person who contributes to mankind. Nan Jiqing admired Li Chen's temperament, talent and ability, and he loved Nangu so much. So Nan Jiqing was relieved to hand Nangu over to him. So he also smiled and said to Li Chen, "Walk." It's good for the child to walk when you have nothing to do. Nengu also smiled warmly. But as soon as she laughed, she covered her stomach. Li Chen and Nan Jiqing both looked over worriedly. What's wrong? Nengu looked up at him. A little at a loss. He actually kicked me. Ha. Nan Jiqing laughed first. The baby is so young. And he's already naughty. Li Chen asked Nangu blankly. He can kick people? Yes. Nangu put his hand on her belly and let him touch it. Nan Jiqing smiled and left without disturbing the young couple. Not long after he left, he really heard Li Chen say behind him, "Ah, he really moves." Nan Ji's hand also poked her belly curiously. The baby is saying hello to us. Li Chen took Nangu to sit on the bench and lowered his head to listen to Nan Ji's fetal movement. Looking so pious, Nangu couldn't help but think of the man's expression when he told her that he wanted her to give birth to his child. At that time, it was expectation. And now it is joy. She whispered in her heart, "Baby, your dad is great. Loves mom very much. And will love you very much too." As if in response to her thoughts, the baby kicked in her belly again in the dappled sunlight. Chapter 184 Extra 3, Knowing Everything. A few months later, Nangu successfully gave birth to a healthy boy. When she was sent to the base hospital, Li Chen brought people to guard outside the operating room. The assistants he trained, as well as Li Yan and Qin Mayan, were all beside him to explore the mystery of the century-old snake village. The snake wife, Yi Xiao and Zhong Haoshuan and his group also came. Although more people wanted to guard here, there were too many people, and they all gathered outside the hospital. Nan Jiqing was also in the hospital. Nangu was going to give birth to a baby. He was actually quite nervous. But when he saw Li Chen, he could clearly feel that Li Chen was more nervous than himself. Li Yan stood next to Li Chen, and seeing that he was tense, he smiled and comforted him. Sister-in-law is in such good health. She will definitely be fine. Brother, don't be nervous. Qin Mayan's baby has been born. She is a very beautiful little girl. At this moment, she is in her arms and sleeping quietly. Qin Mayan also said along with Li Yan. Besides, the Beihai base has gathered the best doctors in the world. With so many of us guarding outside, my sister-in-law and the children will definitely be safe and healthy. Li Chen couldn't sit still at all. After enduring for a long time, he stood up and walked around the ground twice quickly, muttering, "I'm not nervous. Not nervous at all." Just after he finished speaking, he was about to sit down, but Li Yan quickly helped him up. Otherwise he would have sat on the ground. Seeing that his elder brother, who always remained calm under pressure, was so helpless, Li Yan couldn't help but laugh. The sound insulation of the operating room was very good, and people outside couldn't hear Nanji's cry of pain at all. The doctors who delivered her were all sweating coldly, wondering if the body structure of an evolved human was not suitable for pregnancy and childbirth. Nangu was in pain, and they were even more painful than Nangu. They wanted to rush out several times and ask Li Chen to come in to accompany her. In fact, giving birth had no effect on Nanji's body at all. She just didn't feel the pain when she hadn't completed her evolution before. So now she could feel the pain. With such a comparison, she couldn't stand it. While listening to the encouragement of the doctor next to her, Nangu exerted force while thinking painfully. Giving birth is so painful. Damn, Li Chen. I will never give birth again. Woo, it hurts so much. Don't get hurt easily in the future. It will definitely hurt to death. After several hours of tossing and turning, the child was finally born smoothly. In terms of time, it was much shorter than the normal delivery time of ordinary people. Nanji's body has not recovered yet, but she is not tired and sleepy. When the child was just born, he cried twice, listening to the loud voice. Nangu also thought that the baby has a loud voice. When Li Chen was finally allowed to enter the ward, the baby had been placed next to Nangu. He had just been born and had been sleeping. Li Chen walked to the bedside quietly and stroked Nanji's cheek. "Thank you for your hard work." Nangu pouted as soon as she saw him. "It hurts to give birth. Why don't men awaken the ability to give birth?" Li Chen. He really wanted to share this pain with Nangu. But why did he not want to after hearing her words? Nangu looked at her baby again. The baby was really ugly when he was born. Nangu said with a little disdain, "He is so black." Li Chen sat down and patiently explained, "Newborn babies are all like this, and they will be fine in a few days." Nangu sighed regretfully. "No wings. No 3 heads and 6 arms. Wait a minute. It would be strange if she was pregnant. Right? Although the process of natural childbirth is painful, the satisfaction of seeing the baby is incomparable. Nangu looked at the baby for a while, and then heard Li Chen say to her, "What name do you want to give the child?" She tilted her head and thought for a while, then looked at Li Chen. "Li Debao?" Li Chen almost knelt down to Nangu. "I beg you, let me name it. Thinking that so many things have happened in the world in the past 2 years, and I have met the love of this life. And together with her, we have nurtured a new family and started a brand new life." So Li Chen said to Nangu, "Let's call him Lin Yapan," which means to be strong after the disaster, and to be reborn from the ashes. Nangu nodded and thought that the meaning of this name was good. But why didn't it seem to be cute at all? So she didn't give up and said, "Then let's call him Bao and nickname Li Chen, or call him Air Bao." "Why?" Nangu frowned. Was the name she gave so disliked? Li Chen immediately said soothingly, "Because we already have a big baby in our family. He can only be considered the second baby." Nangu reacted for a while before she realized that Li Chen was talking about herself. She couldn't help but smiled. "You are the only one who can say sweet words." Li Chen stared at her all the time. The ward was very quiet. The family of 3 looked very happy, being with the beloved. The days passed quickly. 2 years later, Nangu gave birth to another girl. This time, she had the experience of naming. Looking at Li Chen holding Li Debao, she said excitedly, "This time it's Li Xiaobao." Li Chen wanted to say that this name is very cute. But wouldn't it be weird to use it as a real name? It's a nickname. The real name is Li Xinxin, which means thriving and prosperous. Nangu snorted lightly, and refused to admit that men were better at naming than her. She was depressed for 2 days because of the name of the child. Li Chen persuaded her to calm down. In fact, Nangu didn't have to be unreasonable. She knew everything in her heart. When she calmed down, people looked at her with new eyes. Li Chen was just willing to spoil her, and was willing to see her throwing a tantrum. It seemed that this was what she needed. Li Erbao, like Li Chen, was a calm little boy since childhood. However, the birth of his sister still made him excited for a long time. He would go to his sister's crib whenever he had something to do, as if to cater to Li Xiaobao's name. The development of Beihai base was thriving and flourishing. The potion developed by Yi Xiao before has made a breakthrough. It is estimated that after Nangu is promoted to a level 9 psychic, it will not take long for it to be completely successful. You know, in the current world, zombies are no longer the biggest threat to human survival. They have to face a more severe environment, more ferocious plants and animals. And these things, even if they are killed, they will regenerate. Humans still have a long way to go if they want to stand at the top of the food chain. So humans must be stronger. Both the awakening of superpowers and human evolution can greatly enhance the physical fitness of humans. When the evolution potion is successfully developed, those who can't awaken their superpowers can complete human evolution. The future society will be governed by these 2 types of people. Nanji's 9th level evolution did not take much effort. After all, she was spoiled by Li Chen, and she could get whatever she wanted quickly. When she fully evolved to the 9th level, Nangu was very happy to share her joy with Li Chen, who knew that as soon as she saw Li Chen, her mental power was connected to Li Chen's. In fact, she had this ability when she was at the 8th level. But Li Chen was a 9th level superpower at that time, and he always refused to allow Nangu to enter his mind. Nangu was angry about this, but Li Chen refused to compromise. He also said to Nangu, "My heart and love for you will be expressed in words and actions. Please believe that I will always be consistent in my heart and words." Nangu was fooled by his love words and temporarily forgot about it. And now, so many memories came into her mind unexpectedly, and Nangu was stunned. Li Erbao is 5 years old, and Li Xiaobao is 3 years old. The 2 children follow Li Chen. Seeing that their mother is silent and their father looks a little bad, they are a little scared. When Li Xiaobao is nervous, she bites her fingers subconsciously, before she puts her chubby little hand into her mouth. Li Erbao pulls her little hand over. The 2 children completely inherit the advantages of their parents. The boy is more like Li Chen, and the girl is more like Nangu. So for Li Chen, he obviously loves Li Xiaobao more. Nanji's consciousness is slowly gathering, when it is like the tide completely receding. She sees a lot of things that Li Chen hides from her. Li Chen stared at her, as if waiting for her to ask first. Nangu opened her mouth, but she didn't know where to start. Before the end of the world, when you were framed, you suffered so much at Arthur's hands? And what about the scene you hid the most? I was dead before. But you used time travel to save me. Were your eyes also damaged at that time? Nanji's eyes slowly turned red. Although she didn't have that part of the memory, she could imagine how sad Li Chen would be at that time. Seeing her crying, Li Chen immediately stepped forward and hugged her in his arms. Be good. Don't cry. Those things didn't happen. Nangu couldn't say a word. She hugged Li Chen, full of joy of regaining what she had lost. She said incoherently, I really didn't know something like that had happened. You actually... Your eyes. Li Chen. Can I give you my eyes? What nonsense. Li Chen rubbed her head lovingly. You are safe and healthy, which is the greatest gift to me. Nangu hugged Li Chen's waist tightly, and also thanked him. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back. Li Chen patted Nanji's back and waved to the two children behind him. Li Erbao understood and left with Li Xiaobao. The two children took small steps. Li Xiaobao looked up and asked softly, Brother, why do we have to leave? Didn't you say that Mom has become very powerful now? Li Erbao said seriously, children should not interfere in adult affairs. Oh! Li Erbao nodded obediently. Li Chen spent a long time to coax Nangu. And Nangu also understood that it is better to cherish the present than to indulge in past memories. Lying on the bed hugged by Li Chen, Nangu sniffed and pinched his arm and said, And how come I didn't know about you secretly drawing blood? Chapter 185 Extra 4. This is love. Because Nangu was promoted to the 9th level, Li Chen had revealed everything she wanted Nangu to know. At this moment, he cleared his throat. It's the box containing Evolution Potion B. To open it, I need all my blood. The one injected by Nangu is called Evolution Potion A, and the other is B. After hearing Li Chen's answer, Nangu was furious. So you draw a little each time, and draw all the blood in your body? Li Chen nodded honestly. This is what Yi Xiao and I discussed. And it's the safest way. Theoretically, as long as the blood volume is enough, we can open the box. The last blood draw was done last week, and Yi Xiao will open the box tomorrow. Since Nangu knew everything, Li Chen didn't hide it from her. At this moment, he looked at Nangu, and sure enough, she felt distressed, holding her chest, and wanted to roll on the bed. I don't care. I don't want to open that box. Li Chen thought Nangu was worried about some dangerous virus in the box, and just wanted to comfort her. All the preparations were done. But who knew Nangu said, Your blood is all mine. Why should I give it to that broken box? I am not happy with a drop. Li Chen. So Nangu was worried about her rations. Poker face, you. It's easy to piss me off in a minute. Nangu was not as calm and indifferent as she was outside in front of Li Chen. She was completely a little crazy. I don't care. She pulled Li Chen's collar. Go and give me all the blood. Li Chen held her head and kissed her lips. Nangu pretended to bite him and said with relief, Don't think that if you use this trick every time, I will surrender to you. Li Chen laughed softly. Yes. I was wrong. Although he admitted that he was wrong, the blood he had saved in the past few years was still not recovered. Yi Xiao opened the box on the agreed afternoon and got the key reagent code without any accidents. With this code, Yi Xiao's experiment progressed rapidly. In less than a year, he completed the research. Nangu remembered that many years ago, when he was at the Jinping base, Yi Xiao developed the awakening potion and used it on himself first. This time was no exception. However, his state of mind was different from that year. At that time, Yi Xiao needed superpowers to strengthen himself. Now, he has reached an unparalleled position and no longer needs external forces to enrich his heart. As a doctor, he had to test the medicine first, and many people were opposed. Especially the scientists who followed him for several years were worried that there would be problems with the reagents and he would die. Li Chen and Nangu expressed their support for Yi Xiao. Nangu said, You have to believe in yourself and believe in the senior. His calculations will not be wrong. Li Chen held Nanji's hand on his left, and Li Xiaobao was still in his arms. He also looked at Yi Xiao with trust. Yi Xiao also smiled at Li Chen. They were no longer rivals in love, but friends who cherished each other. Under the witness of everyone, Yi Xiao injected the evolutionary agent and then fell into a coma in the ICU for 3 days. At first, his heartbeat gradually stopped. His cells lost their activity, and his body temperature dropped to 0, which made many scientists nervous. But soon, his body regained life. Unlike Nanji's situation at that time, he did not inject any zombie virus. so there was no step of zombie transformation. When he woke up 3 days later, Yi Xiao's eyes were as pure as the blue sea. He slowly sat up from the bed and pulled out the infusion tube on his body. Through the glass cover, he saw a group of people guarding outside. Those wearing white coats should be in the medical field. The people standing in front are a family of 4? Nangu saw Yi Xiao's expression and knew that he had forgotten everything before evolution. Opening the door, Yi Xiao walked out. Nangu did not rush to let other people come forward, but let Li Erbao go up and give Yi Xiao a soft hug. Although the child was very short and could only hug his legs, Yi Xiao's heart softened, and he picked up Li Erbao and looked at her. Li Erbao called in a baby voice, "Uncle Yi." "Yeah." Yi Xiao's heart seemed to be hit by something. He knew that some parts of his body had changed, but this change did not scare him. Nangu and Li Qin then stepped forward and said to Yi Xiao, "Your name is Yi Xiao. You are the chief doctor of Beihai Base, and you have just started human evolution. Temporary loss of memory is normal, and you will remember everything after your evolution is complete." Yi Xiao hugged Li Erbao and smiled at everyone. "Well, I look forward to that day. Nangu has already paved a way for the evolution of humans, so he didn't take any detours with Yi Xiao. In less than half a year, he completely completed the evolution. A whole year earlier than Nangu at that time. Beihai Base had been covering up this matter, and when Yi Xiao stood up to explain it all, the world was boiling. Countless people who could not awaken their superpowers cried with joy. In this end of the world, they can finally have powerful power. Yi Xiao's press conference was broadcast live around the world via satellite. The man on the screen was wearing a white coat and looked like an ordinary doctor. At the end, he said, "The successful development of the medicine has a lot to do with Li Qin, the leader of Beihai, and his wife Nangu. Without them, the experiment would not have been so smooth. We thank them for their contribution to all mankind." Although Nangu and Li Qin repeatedly reiterated that they did not need any feedback, their sculptures were still built all over the world. Each sculpture is a scene of their getting along. Li Qin was initially a little opposed, but later found that it was a good thing to record his and Nanji's experience in this way. So he began to support the travel through the primitive alien era. Just as Li Qin said every time, there is no creation without destruction. Humans have paid a huge price for what they have done. And superpowers, and of all people will inherit the wishes of all their predecessors, and develop the whole world better and better. The two babies of Nangu and Li Qin have become ambassadors for environmental protection. They are beautiful and loved by everyone. Their popularity is only slightly lower than that of their parents. In fact, even if there is no need for ambassadors, humans have already begun to consciously protect the environment and save resources. They know that the Earth is the home of human survival. Even if the interstellar immigration plan is already in the preparation stage, this will always be their roots and their eternal home. Perhaps in another 10 or 100 years, the Earth will regain its former vitality. On this day, the two little darlings finished shooting a promotional video, and Nangu and Li Qin were waiting for them outside the venue. Time has not left any traces on them, but that kind of temperament that cannot be replicated has become more and more precipitated. Nangu still likes to act like a spoiled child next to Li Qin. The sun outside is so hot that Li Qin even holds an umbrella for her. She is wearing a beautiful red dress and their wedding diamond ring on her hand. Even if the designer has a better work, Nangu still thinks that the one on her hand is the most beautiful. "Why don't you come out yet? The baby is going to die of the sun." Nanji's shoe tip knocked on the ground. Li Qin pushed his glasses and smiled at her gently. "I told you to wait at home, but you insisted on coming." "Huh? I'm going to give the two children a surprise." Li Qin didn't say anything, because Li Erbao and Li Xiaobao had already walked out hand in hand. Following behind them was the free guard Zhong Haoshuan. When the two babies saw Nangu, they were very excited and ran over like little firecrackers. Li Xiaobao had a few playful pigtails and poked them while running. "Dad! Mom!" Li Xiaobao shouted crisply. Nangu stretched out his hands to them, squatted down, and made a hugging gesture. Li Qin saw them throwing themselves into Nanji's arms. He always had a smile on his face, and the family was happy. The scenery in the world is not as beautiful as here. He is willing to use everything to protect them forever. He couldn't help but think of the scene when he first met Nangu. A silly zombie who couldn't speak clearly and always wanted to escape. As if by some strange coincidence, he kept her by his side, and he didn't expect that the little zombie would become his young wife. Li Qin lowered his head and smiled. while Nangu held a child in one hand and looked at him in confusion. What are you laughing at? He shook his head gently, put his arm around Nanji's shoulders, and said softly, I think I must treat you better. Better? Nangu didn't understand. I will make up for what I have lost. If such a person appears, no matter what her identity or appearance is, no matter what kind of experience she has had or what kind of past she has, you are willing to protect her, pity her, and spoil her. Don't doubt it anymore. This is love.